for his generosity and commitment to recognizing exemplary science educators. So on behalf of Dr. Yager and the work with NSTA, this partnership, we would like to congratulate the 2017 Robert Yager Excellence in Science Education Award recipients. And so with that, we will begin to introduce the awardees. So our first Yager recipient is Steve Autieri of District 1. Stephen, or I said Steve. Is Steve okay?
Steve is great.
Okay, so Steve has been involved in developing and instructing courses centered on the theme of blended instruction, which permits students to complete essential tasks at their own pace. Steve has been deeply involved in the professional development and discourse with other educators in his own district, as well as the teachers across the state through workshops conducted on blended instruction. With that, we'd like to invite Stephen up to the stage.
Well, good evening, everybody. Thank you so much for coming out.
I'm sorry, I left all my junk.
I'll do it again. Well, good evening, everybody. Thank you so much for coming out. As was just said, my name is Steve Autieri, and I'm a science educator with the Suffield Public Schools in Suffield, Connecticut. And I'm here tonight to share with you my talk, Science, Technology, and Society, a fresh perspective on science pedagogy. So I want to start tonight with just a very brief introduction about what STS is. STS really provides a contextualized, exploratory ability for students to interact with science content. As students go through these lessons, they develop scientific literacy skills, they engage in discourse, and also a lot of the skills that we recommend with nature of science, such as argumentation and critical thinking, as well as decision making. This promotes a really great atmosphere for students to be active and to make the process student-centered. They drive the process. For a teacher, this creates wonderful opportunities for assessment to become very authentic. So STS units are structured in a particular way, and we use a strategy called the issue analysis technique. And this promotes wonderful opportunities for blended learning. We're able to organize content for students to work both in a synchronous and asynchronous format. The units are comprised of 3 parts. We have what's known as the issue identification, where students select a problem in the community that is relevant to them, as well as to the surrounding local as well as statewide community. After they identify the issue, they take a vantage point or a stance. They conduct both research as well as scientific experimentation to collect data. And then from there, the students move on to the issue resolution. And this is really the ability for the students to produce a solution or a prototype to solve some environmental challenge. And it's really important. A lot of people, Dr. Yager was one who did significant research with STS, and it really promotes a context where we are embedding social as well as technological capabilities with our students. When I was in graduate school, I had the opportunity to study a lot about STS, and that's what really created my enjoyment and my motivation to bring this into the classroom with my students. And I actually performed a significant literature review that looked at both elementary and secondary student attitudes and beliefs towards STS. And it is inspiring how minority students, ELL students, as well as classroom educators have really come to appreciate the value of using this instructional format. So I want to share with you tonight the journey of a group of 13 students who are extremely brilliant. They came to be known as the ICE attackers. And they went through the process of the Science, Technology, and Society framework in my classroom. And at the beginning of the year, I posed the students to pick an issue to them that was of environmental importance, something that came to their hearts. And anybody who lives in the Northeast knows we spend 4 months in a very dark, cold, stormy winter. So students are very familiar with the impact that road salt and de-icing methods have on corrosion to automobiles, as well as destruction of plant life and contamination to animals. So the students proposed a problem. They wanted to know, are there more sustainable ways to go through the process of de-icing our roads that will still achieve the same outcomes, but be safer? So they went through and did their issue analysis. They went out into not only the school, but also the local communities. They surveyed over 300 different people to figure out, do you really understand the impacts that this has on our environment? The students actually came up with their own alternative method, which they titled Ice Fade, and it was composed of 4 different materials. They used cheese brine and sugar beet juice as the melting agents, and selected alfalfa meal and barn grip as the agents to increase traction between the vehicle and the roadway. They conducted several experiments looking at how ice core masses were decreased using the traditional as well as the alternative methods. They also participated in traction capability experiments where they calculated kinetic friction and coefficient of friction, and also looked at the impacts in terms of plant life with pH and chemical balances of the soil. What they found out, and what was really striking to them, was when we did our experiments, especially with the traction, with using the Ice Fade alternative solution, if a vehicle was traveling at 40 miles an hour, it actually reduced the braking distance by almost 400 feet compared to what was used on the roadways. Our team of students was broken up into several groups. I wanted this to be as real world to them as possible. So we had a research and development team. We had a team that was doing community outreach and social networking. And we also had a website design team. And all of these teams were coming together for the goal of developing this new solution. So you can see how impacted the kids were and how involved they were in the process. The kids also decided they wanted to go out and select mentors to support the process. We had representatives join us from the Connecticut Academy of Science and Engineering. The Connecticut Transportation and Safety Research Center actually did a lot of the work with the coefficient of friction and calculations with the mathematics. And they also brought in a graduate student from the University of Maine in the Department of Physics and Astronomy to help the kids set up their experiments. The kids actually brought out the top right picture. That is Connecticut State Representative James Albus, who was brought in for the kids to be able to pitch their idea and their solution out to him. So the final piece to this, and this came in May of the school year, the students brought their project to the largest state science fair known as the Connecticut Innovation Exposition. And the Innovation Expo requires 2 different phases. The students set up an exhibition booth where they display their project. They meet with not only stakeholders in the community, but also visitors, parents, and they pitch their project. They also have a 5-minute presentation to a panel of judges from academia, research, and industry. And the project was so well taken by the judges. You'll notice in the bottom 2 pictures, the students were asked to pitch their project in front of the entire arena and in front of a complete panel of judges. And our project that year was selected as and you can see how excited I was compared to everyone else. I'm jumping for joy, everybody's all serious. But the students actually placed first place that year. And it was truly a great process to see them take this project from nothing, get the interest, and build the learning into it. So they were using the blended learning process to learn at their own pace and to take that content in. So with that said, I'd like to thank my fellow Yager awardees. Congratulations to all of you. I'd like to extend a very sincere thank you to Dr. Yager for his support, as well as NSTA for selecting me for this very prestigious honor. Thank you.
So you know there's goodies that come with this. And so the first one is, of course, a nice plaque with the recognition, and secondly, a nice check to help out with those materials and the learning for you in your classroom. So, Okay. Our next Yager awardee is Covey Denton. Covey's, let's see, and Covey is from, District